Dear colleagues, thank you very much. For those who are participating in the debate, to please take your seats. The rest to leave the room quietly. So, President Michel, please, you have the floor.
Madame la Présidente du Parlement, Madame la Présidente de la Commission, Mesdames et Messieurs les membres du Parlement. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is more dangerous and predictable today. The multilateral rules-based order is under threat, and that's precisely why we are strengthening our EU-United Nations cooperation. And this is why Secretary General Guterres joined our European Council meeting last week. Our discussions focus on three topics: the war in Ukraine, climate change, and reforming the global financial system. Russia is attacking Ukraine and attacking our international rules-based system. But the multilateral system is resisting and standing firm. The UN has played a key role in finding concrete solutions on humanitarian support to refugees, on the Black Sea Grain Initiative, and on nuclear facilities. The EU and United Nations also cooperate on many global issues, such as climate change, and, for instance, we have seen recently with the historic agreement on the High Seas Treaty. The 27 EU leaders also reaffirmed their commitment to the 2030 Agenda and its Sustainable Development Goals, and we discussed the importance of reforming the global financial system to fight poverty and to make the world fairer. Ladies and gentlemen, President Zelensky has addressed every European Council since the start of the war, and last week was no exception. And President Zelensky made one thing very clear: to defend himself, Ukraine needs more weapons and more ammunition. We endorsed the decision on ammunition agreed by the 21st Council. We acted quickly. It took barely 6 weeks after Prime Minister Kallas proposed the idea, and when we tasked the High Representative with taking it forward. Our goal is to provide 1 million rounds of ammunition within the next 12 months. The European Peace Facility and European Defence Agency will help to get it done, and this joint EU initiative constitutes a major new step towards a genuine European defence. We also discussed the recent International Criminal Court's decision. This is the beginning of a process to hold Russian leaders accountable for their crimes in Ukraine, and we also agreed to step up efforts along with our partners to prevent the circumvention and backfilling of our sanctions. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday I was in Moldova, where we shared the EU's strong message of solidarity with the Moldovans. We also prepared the second meeting of the European Political Community, which will take place in Chisinau on June 1st. Moldova is under growing pressure from Russia and needs our support. We have mobilized over 1 billion euros in the past year to support its resilience and stability, and we are ready to do more. That's why we've invited the Commission to present a support package for Moldova before summer. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, we also had an important debate on our long-term competitiveness, and we agreed to focus on three areas. First, building smarter regulation. We need to make life easier for our businesses and create the conditions for our businesses to flourish right here in the EU. And it means cutting red tape, faster permitting, shorter deadlines, easier procedures, and digital solutions. Second, unlocking investment. To ensure our long-term competitiveness, we need massive investments in technology, innovation, connectivity. Financing is the lifeblood of our European businesses, especially our SMEs, so we need to make it easier for them to get the private capital and investment they need to innovate, scale up, and thrive. and we have the financial means at our disposal. Savings represent 1.5 trillion euros in the European Union. The Capital Markets Union will help make this happen. It's time to speed up work and get this done. And third point, boosting research and innovation. The EU needs to become a powerhouse of innovation, especially in areas with tremendous growth potential like renewable and green and clean tech. We will therefore increase investment in R&D, help innovative products and services get on the markets. We also discussed trade, essential to our prosperity. Since 1950s, trade has grown from 5 to 25% of our GDP. And we need to consider a number of issues. Trade is influenced by geopolitics, and we must navigate our trade relations in this complex landscape. In relation to the US, we are a close and strategic ally. In recent months, we have discussed our economic cooperation, notably on the IRA and the WTO reform. We are working together with the United States to find a solution to the issues raised by the IRA. As for China, we face the reality as it is today. China is a major trading partner and has become more assertive and more challenging. So we need to be clear on our goal. We want to de-risk, not to decouple. It's also important to maintain a multilateral trade system with a reformed World Trade Organization at its core, and this includes its dispute settlement mechanism. The 27 leaders agreed to continue our ambitious trade agenda while defending our interests. On migration, we continued our work from last month's summit. We are implementing the concrete measures agreed, and the Council Presidency and the Commission updated us on the progress so far. We will continue our work on this. It's a priority for us all. Dear colleagues, we also held on Friday a Euro summit with the participation of Christine Lagarde and Pascal Donoghue, and this meeting focused on two key points. First, the current economic and financial situation. Our economies entered 2023 on a healthier footing than expected, but the impact on inflation remains a serious concern, and we agreed to continue to closely coordinate our economic policy responses, and we also reiterated that the economic governance framework is key for a strong economic and monetary union. Second, we focused on our European financial architecture. Our banking sector is resilient with strong capital and liquidity positions, and the banking union has significantly strengthened our resilience. But we should not be complacent. We therefore called for continued efforts to complete our banking union. Speeding up progress on the capital market union is also a top priority. The EU is a staunch defender of multilateralism, and the rules-based international order will continue to work to make Europe stronger and more sovereign, and to make the world a fairer place for everyone. I thank you.
Thank you very much, President Michel. I give the floor now to the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen.
Thank you very much, President Metsola, dear Roberta, President Michel, dear Charles, honourable members. Indeed, we had a lot of topics on the agenda in the last European Council. I want to focus on three of them, and the centerpiece was certainly competitiveness, with the view of our response to the Inflation Reduction Act. You are very familiar with the backdrop. So we discussed how to answer to the Inflation Reduction Act. You know what's on the table. The first part is the negotiated part. You know that with our American friends, we confirmed our understanding that European car makers get access to the US market and to US tax breaks with leased electric vehicles. The second part is that is negotiated on critical raw materials for batteries, where we are looking for an agreement that will ensure that critical minerals for batteries that are extracted and processed here in the European Union are treated equally to those from Canada and Mexico, for example, as if we had a free trade agreement. And third, President Biden and I established a transparency dialogue on the clean tech subsidies. This is one part, this is the negotiated part, but the bigger and more important part is that we have to do our homework here in the European Union. We know that today European companies are leaders in net zero research and innovation, and we have set ourselves very ambitious targets for the deployment of renewables. However, our policies have a gap, and that is the support for manufacturing of clean technologies. You all know this situation that with the moment a new technology moves to commercial deployment at scale, so really scaling up, that's just the moment where manufacturing often moves outside the European Union. And we know that China is the largest producer of all mass-manufactured clean tech, so from batteries to solar panels, from certain types of electrolyzers to heat pumps. And this is especially concerning because, according to the International Energy Agency, renewables will account for over 90% of global electricity expansion in the next 5 years. In other words, China will be the biggest winner of this expansion, and if we do not act right now, this Chinese dominance over the clean tech value chain will become even more, not less pronounced. This is why the Commission has put forward two acts. The one is the Net Zero Industry Act, and the other one is the Critical Raw Materials Act. We discussed the Net Zero Industry Act. It will create a regulatory environment that is conducive to scaling up the clean tech industry in Europe. So just the gap that we have right now, to fill this gap, to really encourage to scale up. And this is combined with European funding or state aid, both possibilities are possible, and with a matching clause so that we have transparency on what happens on the American market. In other words, the Net Zero Industry Act aims at keeping European companies in Europe and not see them emigrate across the Atlantic or to China. The second element we discussed is the proposal of the Critical Raw Materials Act on the table now. We all know that the critical raw materials are vital for our twin transition, that is the decarbonization as well as digitalization. And while the demand for these raw materials is projected to increase drastically, we know that Europe heavily depends on import. And of course, this dependency that we have on import threatens not only our climate and digital objectives, but it also weakens our industrial base. Therefore, the Critical Raw Material Act aims at significantly to improve the conditions for extracting, processing, and very important, the recycling of these critical raw materials here in the European Union. And at the same time, we're strengthening our cooperation with reliable partners around the world, so be it zinc or nickel from Canada or lithium from Chile. Mesdames et Messieurs les députés, mon deuxième thème, l'Ukraine. L'Ukraine a été un autre sujet important de nos discussions la semaine dernière. Depuis le tout premier jour de la guerre, nous avons travaillé ensemble dans un seul but, c'est faire échouer le plan de Poutine visant à effacer l'Ukraine de la carte. Pour atteindre ce but, nous avons intensifié notre aide financière, nous avons mis sur pied une plateforme de reconstruction pour rebâtir ce beau et héroïque pays. Enfin, et c'est une vraie première pour notre Union, nous avons acheté en commun des armes dont l'Ukraine a besoin pour se défendre. Notre prochaine étape sera de doter l'Ukraine des munitions dont elle a grandement besoin. Nous allons donc investir 2 milliards d'euros venant de la Facilité européenne pour la paix pour assurer la livraison continue de munitions. Elles viendront de stocks existants ou feront l'objet d'une acquisition conjointe. Et nous devons aussi aider notre industrie de la défense à augmenter sa capacité de production de munitions, y compris avec l'appui budgétaire de l'Union européenne. C'est-à-dire qu'il faut agrandir les installations de production, renforcer les chaînes d'approvisionnement et soutenir la réaffectation de sites de fabrication existants. Nous avons dit que nous soutiendrons l'Ukraine quoi qu'il en coûte et l'Europe tiendra sa promesse. Und das dritte Thema, über das ich aus dem Europäischen Rat berichten möchte, ist ein anderer Aspekt des russischen Kriegs in der Ukraine. Jeder Krieg ist grausam, aber dieser Krieg, der zeigt eine Grausamkeit und Brutalität des Kremls, das eine ganz neue Dimension entwickelt. Ich spreche zum Beispiel von der Verschleppung ukrainischer Kinder. Putins Schergen sollen rund 16.200 Kinder nach Russland entführt haben. Sie wurden aus ihren Familien und aus ihrer Kindheit gerissen. Sie wurden ihrer Heimat und ihrer gewohnten Umgebung beraubt und, wenn wir nicht aktiv werden, auch ihrer Zukunft. Das zynische Adoptionsgesetz, das Russland im vergangenen Mai erlassen hat, erleichtert die Adoption dieser Kinder aus der Ukraine. Das Risiko ist also groß, dass sie für immer im Nirgendwo verschwinden. Das sind Kriegsverbrechen. Die daran beteiligt sind, müssen zur Verantwortung gezogen werden. Und genau aus diesem Grund hat der Internationale Strafgerichtshof einen Haftbefehl gegen den russischen Präsidenten erlassen. Das ist ein Schritt, der seinesgleichen sucht. Mit dieser Entscheidung ist die Welt für Putin ein ganzes Stück kleiner geworden. Wenn er in eines der 123 Länder reist, die mit dem Internationalen Strafgerichtshof zusammenarbeiten, riskiert er seine Verhaftung. Jeder Besuch in einem dieser Länder, sei es in Afrika oder Asien, sei es in Europa oder Südamerika, wird so für ihn zu einem unkalkulierbaren Risiko. Wir unterstützen den Gerichtshof, bis der Gerechtigkeit Genüge getan ist. Wir haben bereits Sanktionen gegen 16 Personen verhängt, die für die Verschleppungen verantwortlich sind, darunter die sogenannte russische Beauftragte für Kinderrechte. Aber wir müssen mehr tun. Wir müssen versuchen herauszufinden, wo sich die entführten Kinder aufhalten, und wir müssen alles daran setzen, sie nach Hause zu bringen. Ich bin den Mitgliedstaaten sehr dankbar, die uns unterstützen. Ebenso möchte ich dem UN-Generalsekretär Antonio Guterres dafür danken, dass die Vereinten Nationen und ihre Agenturen mit Rat und Expertise, die sie leider in diesem Thema haben, an unserer Seite stehen. Meine Damen und Herren Abgeordneten, Kinder sind die schwächsten und verletzlichsten Opfer eines jeden Krieges. Es ist gerade in Zeiten des Krieges, dass wir sie und ihre Rechte besonders schützen müssen. Ihr Recht, frei zu sein, ihr Recht, sicher zu sein, ihr Recht, geborgen zu sein. Lassen Sie uns gemeinsam mit unseren ukrainischen Freunden die Rechte der Kinder verteidigen. Slava Ukraini, long live Europe.
Thank you, President of the Commission. I give the floor